Now these guys have a median wage of $106,000 and change, but that's just to start with. I know a guy who cleared $300,000 one year. We all know that plumbers and electricians can make really great money, but what about the lesser known trades? Well, today I'm gonna offer 7 different trades that you may not have heard of, all which pay north of $75,000 and usually well into the 6-figure range. I'm Carl Murawski, welcome to the channel. Okay, so here's what we're talking about. I'm talking about trades with no 4-year degree required and a real entry path, either through an apprenticeship, a certificate, or through the employer. And please, if you know of any that don't make this list, please add them in the comment section below. That area really helps a lot of people out, so sharing your knowledge down there is greatly appreciated. Okay, our first one is power plant operators, distributors, and dispatchers with a median income of $103,000 per year. These are the people that run systems that generate electricity and move it across the grid. They mostly monitor gauges and computers, they adjust controls to keep power flowing safely and reliably, and then they coordinate with the wider grid to handle demand changes or emergencies as well. You can get in by getting hired into a utility or plant trainee or assistant operator role. Now, most of these jobs require a high school diploma, and if you have, good strong math skills and science skills, that'll probably help. Then they'll put you through an extensive paid on-the-job training. Now, once you're in, you can advance by completing the plant's training and earning different credentials that your track will require, like NERC system operator certifications for grid dispatch control room roles, or an NRC reactor operator license if you want to go with nuclear power. Now the pro is it's a very skilled position, so you're gonna learn a lot and all that knowledge is gonna go with you no matter where you go. A lot of these shops are also union, so you get the benefits and the pension and all that stuff that comes with a union job. And also you could take these skills and you could apply them to different things. So different industrial applications will kind of be a nice sideways move if you decide that this isn't quite it for you. Now, there are always cons to everything, and I'd say for this one, there is industry consolidation going on. You're gonna have to work rotating shifts likely, because electricity never sleeps, and that actually might work well for your lifestyle. Some people like 2nd or 3rd shift. And you gotta be sharp. You gotta know your procedures and alarms and really keep up with that stuff, because your job is essential. Next up is elevator and escalator installers and repairers. Now these guys have a median wage of $106,000 and change. Now, as you can imagine, these are the people who install and maintain elevators and escalators. This could be a difficult one to get into, so if you know somebody who does this for a living, they could show you the path. But if you're just a regular Joe out there, the best thing to do is probably wait for your local to open up an apprenticeship. So you're gonna wanna check out the IUEC/NEIEP apprenticeships. You'll need a high school diploma or a GED. You'll have to pass the elevator industry aptitude test interview, and then you have to complete 4 years of paid on-the-job training and classes to become a journeyman. After that, you'll likely have to get a state license, which means sitting for an exam and then maintaining that license. But that's sort of what comes with most good trades. Now the pros, it's a hands-on job, you definitely see the results of your work, and let's not forget that it's one of the best paying trades around. Now the cons, unfortunately, like I mentioned, it's tough to get into. A lot of times you need to know somebody. You're also working in confined spaces a lot. I'm talking elevator shafts and control rooms, machine rooms. Oftentimes, the machine room is actually in the shaft these days. Of course, it depends on the type of elevator, but you're working in confined spaces a lot, and you're also working with pretty heavy stuff. Elevator weights are they're no joke, but it's a cool job anyway. Next up is electrical power line installers and repairers, otherwise known as linemen. Linemen run deep in my blood. My great-grandfather was a lineman, my grandfather was a lineman. I didn't quite follow that path. I went the electrical route, everything's 600 volts and below. But this is a job that I've heard many, many stories on and have a lot of experience working with these guys. So the first thing I'll tell you is that they have a great base salary. The median income is $92,560. But that's just to start with. If you're somebody who chases storm, I know a guy who cleared $300,000 one year. Of course, you're living like a nomad, but some people really like that. And if I was a young man, I might try it myself. Now these guys build, maintain, and fix the high voltage lines and equipment that carry electricity from power plants to homes and businesses. They climb poles or work from bucket trucks to install wires, transformers, and hardware, and then they test and repair faults, especially after storms like I mentioned. It's an outdoor job, physically demanding work that requires strict safety procedures and solid mechanical and electrical skills for sure. Now your best route to get in is look for an outside lineman job through your local IBEW. You'll typically need a high school diploma, you'll have to pass an aptitude and fitness test and drug screen. Then after that, you'll have to complete 3 to 4 years of paid on-the-job training, and then of course a classroom segment to reach a journeyman level. Now just a little tip, if you want to get ahead, having a CDL really helps because oftentimes linemen are driving bucket trucks with wire reels or other types of trailers behind them. So a CDL is often required. So if you already have one of those, that's one less thing that they have to teach you. So that's a little thing you can do. Some other places like local community colleges also have pre-apprenticeship programs for line workers. So look around and see what you can do to go to the table and say, hey, I already have this and this and this, and I want to get signed up. Guaranteed, you're gonna be a better applicant than somebody who comes in with absolutely nothing. Now the pros for this one, there is a great base salary, but on top of that, the overtime is where you can really rake it in. There's also paid travel. When you're out on storm, you're getting paid the entire time you're there. You're really making a lot of money. Now the downside is travel is tough, and that can be really hard on a family. It's also very physically demanding. You'll likely be out in the weather quite a bit. And let's not forget that there is a severe safety risk with this job, so being safe is definitely important. Next up is electrical and electronics repairers. Think of almost like a maintenance electrician in especially a powerhouse or a substation, things like that. Now, the median income for this job is $96,000, but the 75th percentile earn $107,000, so you're into the 6 figures here. Now, these guys diagnose, fix, and maintain equipment like motors, control systems, circuit boards, communications gear, stuff like that. They're gonna use meters and oscilloscopes and schematics to track down faults and replace components and stuff, calibrate systems. You'll find these guys in factories, power plants, hospitals, telecom sites. They basically keep critical equipment running safely and reliably. Now, unlike a typical electrician or lineman, a lot of these guys are dealing with small motor controls and things like that. Motor controls is often just a small segment of what we learn in electrical school, but there are a lot of people who just take to that side of it and really enjoy working with relays and stuff like that. That's really where these guys can make a lot of money, especially if you're working with things like programmable load controllers, things with automation. You're the guy that they call, or girl, when something isn't working and they're losing money every time that machine isn't running. So you can make a lot of money doing this. Now, how to get in? You have to start with some post-secondary training, and you can get this through the military, or you can also get it through various community colleges and places like that. You're gonna wanna look for jobs like utility substation trainee, or relay trainee, or apprenticeship openings, things like that. This is one where an associate degree and this kind of stuff could definitely help, but if you get a certificate, that can be just as good. And then you're gonna have structured on-the-job training to sort of bring you up to speed. And once you're hired, you can level up by getting different credentials like NETA technician or certified electronics technician to stand out for relay testing and substation maintenance roles that pay really well. Now the pros, this job can be less physically demanding than most electrical jobs. Also, if you really like problem solving, that's probably what you're doing pretty much all day. And there's also a very high skill ceiling. So when you get in and you start learning stuff, you can become almost irreplaceable pretty quickly, especially if you're sharp. Now the cons, there are definitely fewer openings for these types of jobs. Where a building could take 50 electricians, usually 1 or 2 or 3 people are required for this type of job. There's also a ton of paperwork and understanding schematics. This is really a job that borders electrical engineering kind of stuff without being an engineer. So you have to like looking at schematics and understanding motor controls. It's sort of a different way of thinking, but some people really take to that. Next up is control and valve installers and repairers in the gas and power industry. Now the national median for this job is $70,000. The utility industry average though is $94,000. So you're doing pretty well here. Now these guys work in utility systems or power plants, things like that. They maintain valves and controls, they fix regulators, and they use meters and actuators and all kinds of stuff to basically keep gas and power flowing. They'll calibrate pressure and flow controls, troubleshoot with gauges and SCADA readouts. They'll swap seals or components to stop leaks and keep systems in check. And a lot of times there are very strict safety procedures with this job and occasional emergency callouts, which again, get you paid. Now, how can you get in? Well, look at a utility plant, like a gas or power utility plant, and look for a control or measurement valve tech trainee job. Most employers will hire with a high school diploma, and then they'll provide moderate term paid on the job training, and industrial or instrumentation coursework on your own can certainly help. If you're on the gas side of things, you'll need to complete DOT/PHMSA operator qualification. Now, to move up in this role, get yourself some recognized credentials like the ISA, Certified Control Systems Technician, and relevant vendor training. Now, the pros of this job is it's definitely interesting. I mean, you're seeing a lot of cool stuff that nobody ever gets to see. And if you already work with controls and things like that, you may have kind of a leg up in this. It might not be a completely new trade to you. The cons are really geographic with this one. Pay really changes quite a bit depending on where you are in the country. So if your area isn't paying high for this kind of job, move on. Look at something that'll get you paid better. Next up is nuclear technicians with a median pay of $104,000 a year. Are you noticing a trend here though? A lot of these jobs have to do with the generation or distribution of either power or gas, the stuff that we use every single day. Nuclear technician will definitely rely on there being, a nuclear power plant near you, but if there is one, there are opportunities to be had. Now, these guys support engineers and reactor operators by monitoring radiation levels, running tests, and operating specialized equipment in power plants or labs or even medical facilities. Now, they'll collect and analyze samples, and they'll help enforce strict safety and regulatory procedures. The job is like really detail driven with a heavy emphasis on protocols and protective gear. So if that's not your bag and you really don't like safety guys and stuff like that, this isn't gonna be the job for you. Now, there are actually two solid routes to get into this job. First, you can earn a 2-year associate degree in nuclear technology, and then you could apply for nuclear tech or radiation protection trainee roles. That's what you're gonna wanna look for. Or if you came out of the Navy's nuclear program, you can transition straight into civilian plants or labs. Once you get hired, you can expect extensive paid on-the-job training and qualification checkoffs. Many radiation protection and operation tasks are standardized under NCR industry programs. Now, the pros for this job, they have a high base pay. I mean, you're earning quite a bit of money right out the gate. It's a nice, clean work environment for the most part, and they have stable procedures that you can learn and master and then become really good at your job. Now, the biggest con for this one is that you need to live somewhere near a nuclear power plant or medical facility or someplace that you can use this type of training. They also have very strict standards with safety, so if you're not somebody who likes to be watched all the time and you don't like to work in that type of environment, it can be kind of stifling, then this might not be the job for you. Next up is railroad signal and track switch repairers with a median income of $82,000. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and lump into this because I've worked on the railroad quite a bit. Flagmen, because the flaggers out there that's one of the coolest jobs. And if I had to do it all over again, I think I might get into being a flag. You're really out there with the different people who are doing the work. You get to sort of control that section of track. You're more or less the supervisor on an area of track. You make sure that the work gets done safely. It's very, very interesting. Now, the signal and track switch repairers keep trains moving safely by installing, inspecting, and fixing track signals, track switches, and crossing gates that control traffic. They test circuits and relays, align and lubricate switch mechanisms, and they troubleshoot wiring or sensor faults out in the field. Now, most work on the rail never stops, so you may be working different shifts. The other thing is, there's not a whole lot of jobs that are inside that work in the railroad, so you're gonna be outside in all the elements. I mean, I've worked outside in the middle of summer and in the dead of winter, and it can be kind of miserable. Now, getting into the railroad can be kind of tricky. It definitely helps to know somebody. But if that's not the case, you can apply directly to the railroad for a signal apprenticeship/trainee job. Now, these typically require a high school diploma, a driver's license, the ability to travel because you're gonna be going all over the place on this rail. You have to be able to work outdoors, and you'll definitely get paid on the job training that leads to signal maintainer roles. If you want to stand out for this role, having a little bit of previous electrical knowledge will definitely help. Having worked on the railroad will certainly help so that you understand their procedures and the way that they do things. The pros for this job is, even though it has a great starting salary, the money's really in the overtime, which is always available. And you get even sometimes night differential. Up here in the Northeast, we have Metro North and we have Amtrak. But depending on where you are, you may have different things that are available to you. So when you get in and you talk to your fellow coworkers, they'll certainly clue you in as to the best way to clear 6 figures. The cons are working out in the weather, of course. There's sort of like cyclical hiring, so they'll open up job postings and then they'll take them away, and again, it can be kind of tricky to get in. And the hours can be bizarre. So you have to be okay with working at night or working at night one day and then during the day a little bit later or whatever. You can really mix and match a lot of different hours. And I know for a lot of people, that itself can be fatiguing. If you want to make real money in the trades, look for some of these hidden jobs. There's a lot less competition. And once you get in and you start stacking up certifications, even if you find a job with some built-in overtime, you're gonna be raking in the money pretty quickly. If you want to learn more about the gear that's going to keep you warm on the job, you can click this video right here. This is all the stuff that I wish I knew back in the day, so hopefully you get some use out of that one. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you next time.